Hello everyone and welcome to this edition of CX Conversations. I'm Matt Simpson, Managing Director at Candyspace, and today we're talking all about personalisation in B2B e-commerce. And I'm very happy to say we have our own resident expert, Candyspace's Director of E-commerce, Tim McMillen. Hi Tim.
Good morning, Matt.
Personalisation in B2B e-commerce. Why does it matter? I'm not ordering a pizza or a taxi or renting out my room on Airbnb. Is it important?
Well, it's very important because essentially e-commerce in B2B without personalization is just another catalog. And you've got to remember that you're dealing with, really complicated buying scenarios, perhaps multiple stakeholders, long buying journeys, things like that. And the goal of personalization in B2B is really about helping customers feel like a digital transaction is just an extension of an existing trusted relationship, not just a transaction.
No, absolutely. So what type of personalization, what other type of personalized experiences that you can do in B2B that actually drive business outcomes?
The personalization triggers in B2B are usually things like custom pricing catalogs or product recommendations that are specific to previous orders, market sensitivity, supply and demand, things like that. But there's also the need to remember that it's not just about the sale, it's also about post-sale. So what kind of tools do people need? What kind of dashboards do they need to help them with, really easy and efficient reordering, being able to download invoices or share information, account level information across the wider team. So you're thinking about personalization traits. It's like information that the B2B organization has in abundance already. It's about operationalizing that and making it available in real time contextually for your customers when they're using your channels.
So if I'm a leader in a B2B business and we haven't yet implemented any sort of personalization or personalized experiences, where do I start and what's the key to making this successful?
The first place you must start is to speak to your customers, understand what they want. You're going to be introducing a new channel into their buying journey, so you need to make sure that they're comfortable with what that channel is going to bring and get them to help you design it. Once you understand what it is that's going to be successful from a customer's point of view, you can then put in place a strategic plan that has got both the mix of kind of short-term goals and longer-term ROI within it to help kind of deliver that. So that's going to be around your data. How do you operationalize your data in a way that you can get the data that you need to drive those personal experiences that the customers say they want? And then what operational change is required within your business to be able to align to those new business models or those new channel ideas that you come up with.
Sounds so obvious, doesn't it? Speak to your customers, but it's amazing how many businesses forget that very simple step.
It's very easy to be seduced by technology and just run after a tech stack and actually implement something with an inside-out mentality rather than actually thinking about what do we actually want to achieve from a customer perspective, what's going to make it successful, and have that outside-in kind of view on it.
You need to speak to the customers before you make a heavy investment in a particular technology or platform, right?
Absolutely, yeah, 100%.
And I guess with that in mind then, how do you measure the return on investment of the personalization that you've implemented into your business?
So I always bring this back to remembering what the goal of e-commerce within B2B is, and it's really about helping organizations to scale and grow through customer self-service, and then using that to drive efficiency and profitability. So personalization is essential to be able to achieve that, because to enable customer self-service, you've got to be able to bring the right information to the customer at the right point in time. So if they're doing complicated product configurators and things like that, they need to be able to see the price of their products within that. They need to understand lead times for them, and they need to understand availability and what other parts they might need and things like that. So success is really about the adoption of your e-commerce platform, and personalization will drive that. And if you get good adoption, then you should see things like increased average order value, more frequent orders, reduced cost to serve within the organization, which ultimately will lead to greater profitability.
Great. If I put myself in the mind of one of the sales team at a B2B business, I'm thinking every single thing I do is already personalized. This is how I work. What is this bringing to me, and how do I, as one of the sales guys, work with this new personalized digital technologies?
So I'd flip that round actually, and rather than say how do we integrate the sales team into a digital channel, I'd say how do you actually integrate the digital channel into the sales team's ways of working. And once you've gone back to what we spoke about at the beginning about talking to your customers, finding out what they want, what's going to be successful from their point of view, from an e-commerce channel and personalization, you can then use that insight to help the sales team understand how it's going to enrich their role and empower them rather than replace them. So we are going to be able to see insight and information about our customers that were previously maybe held instinctively, but not necessarily kind of validated. So with B2B Ecommerce, you can start picking out trends such as changes in customers' buying patterns, or focus on different kind of product areas, or perhaps even intercept a customer that's at risk of churn if we can see that a customer hasn't ordered a product at the volume or the frequency they usually had. All of these are great kind of clues and triggers for the sales team to get back involved and to kind of put their arms around the relationship again and to have a more nurtured conversation. But another value of B2B personalization is actually being able to separate at scale the kind of the sales effort and also the account management effort. So helping customers to self-serve with dashboards so they can see their past orders, reorder quickly, download invoices, share information, procurement without having to pick up the phone is a great value add. But also that keeps kind of some of that admin and lower value activity away from the sales team. They can just carry on focusing on kind of mining the information, the data that's being generated by the personalization and e-commerce channel, and look for more opportunities to grow accounts.
So absolutely, it can be seen as an enabler for the sales team and giving them a wealth of data that they didn't previously have about their customers to enable them to deliver even more personalized experiences themselves.
Yeah, and the trick is to be able to articulate and explain that in a way that they believe in and they're not suspicious about.
Final question, Tim. What is next for personalization in B2B e-commerce? Things are advancing so rapidly. What can B2B leaders expect?
Okay, I think we just need a bit of a reality check here and to realise that not all organisations have already implemented successful e-commerce channels and are ready to implement personalisation. So sometimes we just need to reset expectations and say, you know, personalisation is essential for e-commerce and it needs to be considered as part of the strategy for it. So for those organisations that haven't yet started or have perhaps only implemented an online catalogue, what's next for them is actually to think strategically about digital transformation and how they're going to implement e-commerce, and to center their thinking around personalization. So what data do I need? What experiences am I trying to create? What operational change do I need to drive that? Otherwise, there's no point, because customers won't adopt it if they think that the experience is going to be worse than what they had before. And then for the organizations that are a little bit further along their journey, where they are more mature, perhaps they've already unified their first party data, they've got kind of personalized information going out to customers on the channels. It's about probably adopting things like the dreaded AI word that we speak about quite a lot, but actually using that in a useful way. So implementing predictive analytics so that we can offer things like dynamic pricing based upon customer demand and order behavior or market trends. What's really good as well is you could probably look at ways that you could flag to your customers about stock availability issues in advance of it. So if you know they regularly order something at the end of the month and you've got a supply issue, you can flag that and maybe get their order in early or convince them to try another variant or model or something like that. So that's all really useful applications of AI from like the selling point of view. But there's also the kind of operational side of things where they can start exploring tools like agentic AI, where they can start taking kind of like the legwork out of manual order processing or manual product data enrichment and things like that, and using things like agentic AI to automate a lot of that at scale much more easily and accurately than perhaps they've been able to do in the past.
And I think probably to reassure any B2B leaders who are watching this, there are lots of platforms, tools that are already embedding these processes that do the job on your behalf.
Yes, but just remember that those tools are useless if the data that you service them with isn't good, enriched and powerful.
Brilliant. Well, that's a great point to end on, Tim. Thanks so much for your insights. It's, as always, fascinating. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.